Our tale begins in the throes of World War II, a global conflict that changed the face of history. This was a time when the world was divided, nations pitted against one another in a fierce and brutal contest of ideologies, power, and survival. The United States, a key player in this global chess game, was hard at work behind the scenes, crafting a weapon of unprecedented power and destruction. In the shadows of this world at war, the Manhattan Project was born. This top-secret initiative was a desperate bid for victory, a race against time and enemy forces. Its purpose? To develop the world's first atomic bomb. Some of the brightest minds of the era were gathered for this daunting task, including Robert Oppenheimer, the project's scientific director, and General Leslie Groves, the military leader who drove the project forward with an iron will. The Manhattan Project was not just a scientific endeavor, but a political and military one as well. It was a response to fears that Nazi Germany was developing its own nuclear weapon and a potential game-changer in the war. The stakes were high, the pressure immense, and the consequences of failure unthinkable. As the project progressed and the weapon neared completion, global politics were also in flux. In July of 2024, the Allies issued the Potsdam Declaration, a call for Japan's unconditional surrender. It was a final warning, a last chance to avoid further devastation. But Japan, steadfast in its resolve, chose to ignore the ultimatum. This refusal set a chain of events into motion that would lead to one of the most devastating moments in human history. The stage was set, the players in position, and the weapon ready. With the world as its audience, the United States was about to unveil the terrible power it had been harnessing in secrecy. With the stage set, the world was about to witness a cataclysmic event that would forever change its perspective on war. This was the prelude to devastation, the calm before the storm that was about to unleash upon the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 6, 1944, the city of Hiroshima woke to a morning like any other, oblivious of the terror that was about to unfold. The sun rose, casting a golden glow over the city, as people went about their daily routines, unaware that these were their final moments of normalcy. At precisely 8:15 in the morning, the serenity was shattered. An American B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay, dropped the first atomic bomb used in warfare, codenamed Little Boy. The city was enveloped in an unimaginable flash of light, and in an instant, everything changed. The shockwave that followed flattened the city, turning buildings into rubble and people into shadows. The heat, reaching temperatures higher than the surface of the sun, incinerated everything in its path. The bomb claimed the lives of some 80,000 people instantly, with many more succumbing to their injuries or the effects of radiation in the following weeks and months. The city that had been bustling with life was now a desolate wasteland. The once vibrant Hiroshima was silenced, its heartbeat replaced with the deafening echo of the bomb's blast. In an instant, Hiroshima was reduced to ashes, but the devastation was far from over. Just 3 days later, another city found itself in the crosshairs of this new form of warfare. Without missing a beat, the world's second nuclear bomb, codenamed Fat Man, was dropped on the city of Nagasaki on the fateful day of August 9, 1945. The flash, the blast, the devastation, it was all too familiar, yet it was horrifyingly unique in its own right. The sky was ablaze, the air filled with the wails of the city as it was consumed by a monstrous mushroom cloud, a grim testament to humanity's newfound power. The immediate effects of the blast were catastrophic. The city, once a bustling hub of activity, was reduced to ashes in an instant. Buildings crumbled, homes were incinerated, and lives were snuffed out or irrevocably altered. The death toll was staggering. Approximately 40,000 lives were lost on that day alone. Yet the numbers, as horrifying as they are, fail to fully capture the scale of the devastation. For each life lost, countless others were left to mourn, to rebuild, and to grapple with the unfathomable loss. The extensive damage caused by Fat Man was not just physical. It was a wound that cut through the fabric of society, leaving a scar that would forever mark the city and its people. It was a stark reminder of the destructive power we wield and the responsibility that comes with it. In a matter of days, 2 cities were obliterated, marking the end of World War II and the beginning of a new world order. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were not just events of destruction, but turning points in human history. In the immediate aftermath of these cataclysms, Japan announced its surrender, marking the end of World War II. A conflict that claimed millions of lives finally reached its conclusion, But the cost was steep, and the scars ran deep. The cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were reduced to ruins, and the lives of their inhabitants were irrevocably altered. The effects of the bombs lingered far beyond the initial explosion. Survivors, or hibakusha as they're known in Japan, faced a future fraught with uncertainty and hardship. Radiation exposure led to a myriad of health complications, from burns and injuries that took years to heal, to illnesses such as cancer that would manifest much later. The psychological trauma was just as profound, with many survivors living with the memories of that fateful day for the rest of their lives. Beyond the physical and emotional devastation, the bombings ignited a global debate on the ethics of atomic warfare. For some, the use of such devastating weapons was a necessary evil to expedite the end of the war. For others, it was an act of inhumanity that crossed a moral line. This debate gave birth to the nuclear disarmament movement, a global effort to limit the proliferation of nuclear weapons and promote their eventual eradication. In the decades that followed, the world would grapple with the implications of possessing such destructive power. The bombings served as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of nuclear warfare, and spurred on efforts to prevent a repeat of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The lessons learned from these events continue to shape international policies and attitudes towards nuclear weapons. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki serve as stark reminders of the destructive power humanity wields, urging us to strive for peace and understanding.